The challenge today, though, is we see a lot of people that don't have any motivation. And they don't even know how to be motivated or what's motivating them. And if you're lacking that spirit and that fire in your own life, it's time to take a personal inventory to see, wait a second, what are my hot buttons and what gets me turned on and wanting to be better and do better and be more excited about life. To reinforce what Suzanne said earlier, according to Gallup polls, a lack of employee motivation is our nation's workforce costs the U.S. economy up to $370 billion per year just for being a lack of motivation. And when you realize motivation is what fuels us, it ignites our performance, and if you want to get the best out of your people, you got to figure out what gets them fired up. But sadly enough, half the time we don't even know what fires us up. We just know sometimes we feel excitement, sometimes we don't. You know, is that how you measure your motivation? Well, not after today, because we're going to be able to peg your motivational DNA so you can know exactly what fires you up and why. The Wall Street Journal reports that unmotivated employees tend to be less happy, less healthy, and less focused than motivated employees, resulting in higher healthcare expenditures, also lower productivity, increased absenteeism, and more on-the-job accidents. Isn't it an interesting correlation that people who aren't motivated are more likely to get hurt? So what a great insurance policy for yourselves. Because as you're motivated, you're also happier. When you're happier, your body is happier. And when your body has a healthy physiology, you're going to stay healthy longer and not go to the doctor as often or as much. So ask yourself the question, what motivates you most? A fear of loss or a hope for gain? A lot of the decisions that you make are driven by what motivates one of these answers. Prior to this economic wreck, I was always a hope for gain kind of girl. Because like Suzanne, I was raised in an abusive alcoholic household. And I had a very low self-esteem. I was crushed like a bug. And being the baby, it was even more so because I had no value. Anything I had to say really didn't matter. And I always got run over. And so for me, it was always, okay, my dreams, my goals, my hopes, my aspirations, that was the fire that propelled me to my future to create a better life, so I wouldn't be in that situation any longer. It's those goals that were my life raft. It's like, yes, a hope for gain, a hope for gain. And then after working so hard after a lifetime, and then everything crashed, stock market, real estate, 401ks, everything, I found that I completely shifted, that I was motivated by a fear of loss because I didn't want to lose anymore. I was like, and that panic that ensued, and you all know what I'm talking about, is that sometimes you are motivated to go do something because you're afraid if you don't, then you won't like the consequences or the outcomes. This is not on your flyer, but it's a nice tidbit for you. There's a word that I have learned through my master's program that's totally new for me. It's called satisfice. Can you write that down? Satisfice. This is such a cool word because there are times in life we need to make a decision to satisfy a need, but it's with great sacrifice. Satisfice. And when we make this satisfice, you just are basically picking the worst of two, or the better of two evils, or the better of two challenges. Because everything nowadays just sometimes seems to have consequences, and you want to make the consequences as minimal as possible, right? As we're going through our entire process today about pegging your motivational DNA and determining your color, I pray and hope that you will shift to start to be motivated by a hope for gain, a hope for a happier life, a hope for better relationships, a hope for more engagement, fulfillment, satisfaction, happiness, pride, whatever it may be. Because motivation is essential to achieving any goal that you have, and motivation helps you to overcome obstacles. It improves your efficiency, effectiveness, and performance. And when managers and leaders realize that, it's key that we understand the motivational aspects of all the people that we work with, because it can help you engage with them deeper. This is a sad circumstance. The National Teachers Association says that more than half of new teachers, that enter the profession, they leave within the first 5 years because they are so discouraged by unmotivated, uninterested students. And you're seeing it, aren't you? Aren't you seeing it? The lack of communication skills and the inability. Now, having teenagers, it's like having a laboratory because they don't communicate on the phone. They text.
They text.
And if I don't text,
Yes.
they don't talk.
Even grown-ups.
And even when they text, it's in one-word sentences. Yeah, I'll give my son great, fabulous news. Guess what? They'll type back, sweet. That's part of the challenge. Yes.
Have you heard the Jack Canfield story about the kid who didn't want to, the guy who didn't want to go to school? Well, it's a great story, and do you mind if I tell it?
Tell it,
It's really cute. This guy is laying in bed. He's saying, "Mom, I don't want to go to school today." She says, "Son, you got to go to school." She said, "But you know, the kids don't like me. They talk about me behind my back. I feel bad every day I go." And so he just started moaning, groaning. She says, "Well, son, you've got to go. You're the principal of the